Welcome back. Yesterday we began considering another psalm of thanksgiving, Psalm 107. And I mentioned the fact that verse 8, which states, "Oh, that men would give thanks to Yahweh for his goodness," or his chesed, "and for his wonderful works to the children of men," is repeated. Verse 8, verse 15, verse 21, verse 31. Breaking this psalm into 5 primary groupings, giving us reasons why we ought to give thanks to God and revealing to us his, again, faithful loving kindness, his chesed to us, which is, again, the foundation and reason why we should be giving thanks to God. I'd like to read Psalm 107, portion of it again today. We'll read verse 1 and then verses 8 to 15. And consider the second of these reasons why we ought to give thanks to God for his chesed. Psalm 107, verse 1. "Oh, give thanks to Yahweh, for he is good, for his chesed endures forever." Verse 8. "Oh, that men would give thanks to Yahweh for his goodness and for his wonderful works to the children of men. For he satisfies the longing soul and fills the hungry soul with goodness. Those who sat in darkness and in the shadow of death, bound in affliction and irons, because they rebelled against the words of God and despised the counsel of the Most High. Therefore he brought down their heart with labor. They fell down, and there was none to help. Then they cried out to Yahweh in their trouble, and he saved them out of their distresses. He brought them out of darkness and the shadow of death and broke their chains in pieces. Oh, that men would give thanks to Yahweh for his goodness, his chesed, and for his wonderful works to the children of men." Note then, again, as we are told to give thanks to Yahweh because his chesed is never ending, and that the psalmist cries out, yearning and desiring and wishing that men would give thanks to God for his chesed, that this next reason that he declares, verse 9, is that Yahweh satisfies the longing soul and fills the hungry soul with goodness. Now, this goodness actually is the word for goodness in the Hebrew. It's the word tov, which means good. And so that God then will satisfy, he will satiate, he will fill souls that are longing and hungry, if you would, for righteousness. As Jesus declared in Matthew chapter 5, verse 6, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled." This is the passage that he was referring back to at this time. Psalm 23, we read, remember, as we looked at this as well, "Yahweh is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Because Yahweh is my shepherd, and he is, if you would then, chesed, I shall not want." Blessed is that soul that hungers and thirsts for righteousness, because Yahweh will bring satisfaction. He will fill it. However, there are those then that turn and look toward other things. We look toward the world to satiate us and to fill us, and there is no satisfaction that's there. Rather, there is emptiness. And Jesus tells us that we can't serve materialism and God. We have to choose which one we're going to serve. But materialism, mammon, the things of the world, are empty, vain, dry. But yet, as we go past searching for those things, Yahweh declares that he will love us like a father loves us, and that he will then chasten us. We read in Proverbs that the Lord chastens those whom he loves. And this is repeated again in Hebrews chapter 12 to us as believers. I'd like to read that portion, beginning Hebrews 12, verse 5, where we read, "And you have forgotten the exhortation which speaks to you as sons. My son, do not despise the chastening of Yahweh, nor be discouraged when you are rebuked by him. For whom Yahweh loves, he chastens and scourges every son whom he receives. If you endure chastening, God deals with you as sons. For what son is there whom a father does not chasten? But if you are without chastening, of which all have become partakers, then you are illegitimate and not sons. Furthermore, we have had human fathers who corrected us, and we have paid them respect. Shall we not much more readily be in subjection to the Father of spirits and live? For they, that is, the human fathers, indeed, for a few days chastened us, as it seemed best to them, but he for our profit, that we may be partakers of his holiness. Now, no chastening seems to be joyful for the present, but painful. Nevertheless, afterward, it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. So the psalmist declares here in Psalm 7 as well that because they rebelled against the words of God and despised the counsel of the Most High, therefore he brought down their heart with labor. They fell down, and there was none to help. They cried out to Yahweh in their trouble, and he saved them out of their distresses. God chastens those whom he loves in order to get our attention, just like our human fathers. That God desires for us then to be partakers of his holiness, to receive and to rejoice in his peace and his righteousness. And when we walk and reject and rebel against his word, then God has to do these things. This sounds like an opposite kind of thought process, but we're called upon by the psalmist and truly by God himself to be thankful for the chastisement of God, knowing that God only chastens those whom he loves. Pray. Give thanks to God today. And yes, even thank him, for he is a God who loves you and will bring chastisement into your life. And have a blessed day.